Okay, I've prepared some ball feeds just to show you the four main categories of ball feeds that you can typically use anywhere you go fish. This one, I recommend you using simple stuff, a hard floaty and a soft floaty with neutral flavoring such as a caramel or corn. For example, this is just a hard um, caramel floaty, and at the back it's just a musky floaty, and on the bowl itself it's a banana flavor and a caramel flavor. Now I've turned all of the brands around just so that I can explain the basis of my four main categories of carb feed you can actually get in a way. So this one is your neutral one, go as light as possible. Your secondary one is now your, as I like to call it, a everyday popular place to go fish. Now, typically that really works good for them is floaties that typically ooze something out of them, and then I cover them with a thick syrupy type of dip so that that locks in for a while and then it starts to ooze out after a while. And the bowl itself, it's, you overpower it with the strong flavors of the dam or wherever your fish at, for example the lure. As you see, I used a couple of stuff and use a spray if you have a spray. I know they can be a bit more expensive than the normal stuff, but it's worth it. And then this one I like to call your river dam setup for just some full small fishing. You typically want to use something that is musky and also gives off a color. Typically you would want to use a musk type of thing, and also you get fluorophytes that gives off a powder as you can see there. And you also typically would want to go a fruit combination or anything super sweet. Okay, the last one is your, as I like to call it, specimen combination. Typically what you want to use is a corn at the bottom, just one or two kernels, and just put them up like that, exposing that hook, and you can easily use that anywhere. And then at the back you can also just use one big floaty, a boilie, or anything like that, and that complements the front hook. And at the back it's the same thing. In the previous video I actually made a hole there so that I can throw in dip there, so that goes into the bowl deep. You want to go there also with something strong and something syrupy so that infuses with your bowl itself basically. I'll show you now what each of these bowls do in water. It's not a dam or anything, it's just a splash bowl, but I will show you what each floaty and bowl does in the water, just to show you what each of the combinations, because it's essential to know also what your feet do in the water. So that's why I say experiment sometimes at home in a small bowl or something like that, just to see what your bait do in the water. We'll start up from the left to the right. This is now the first combination. The hard floaty went down, it sank to the bottom, and the big floaty went up. As you can see there in the water itself, it doesn't make any colorant disturbance. It's for light fishing, just to see by the location you're fishing at, how hungry the fish are, what their activities are. It's just to get started when you are fishing at that specific dam on a weekend or early morning, so you can just get a good grasp of what is for what is going for what. And as you can see there, the feed, if you throw it in, it sort of instantaneously breaks in the water. So that is good. That is what you normally want, an instant slow release of that corn kernels. Okay. Okay, and this is now the specimen category. Now your boilie or the big float will typically go up, and if you put some dip on it, it will releases some of that dip onto your millibomb itself or the feed, and your corn will always go down to the bottom for the bottom feeders, and then later on this will completely break down, releasing that what I put in on there into the water, making it pinkish, and really releases all that you want. This typically works for the bigger carp if you use specimen type of tackle, for example corn or boilies or something like that. This is now the oozing type of combination I talked about. I typically have one light and one heavy on, so one goes to the bottom and one floats upwards, and the bowl also releases a decent amount of color into the water and gives off a lot of scent. Later I'll show you the effects the longer they lay in the water. Okay, and then next is the, how must I put it, tired, hurtful. You want to catch fish now and now immediately. This one releases color and effects immediately. The flora floaty and the musk type of floaties, they immediately give off scent. And what you typically want to do with the feed itself is put as much depth and coloring as possible on that bowl so that it releases color in that entire area, that smell in the entire area. And this is typically for a hard day fishing. If you really want to catch a lot, for example school fishing or something like that, this is your way. And to really utilize it to its fullest effect, start off with this, see if it works. Typically if you can go light, you can go heavy, and heavy would normally work. And if heavy doesn't always work, go for those type of combinations, the oozing type of combinations, and then go for specimen. But normally I stick with these three over here because they are the fastest and easiest guarantees in a way. It's been about an hour, and I just want to show you, this one goes fast, and then it goes, the floaties or whatever you use go to the bottom. The fish come or goes depending on how hungry they are. This one also huge color, huge scent into the water, also very fast. These two throw off the feed very fast, and you're on your way. This one the same. It gives off color, it's slow releasing, and you will typically lean to these two for bigger carp. And then this is the specimen one. Now, just by throwing the dip into the ball itself, it binds the ball much tighter, and the ball doesn't separates as fast as the others. It's loose. If you pick it up, it will start to fall apart in your hand, but on its own it will stay that way for much longer than the others. So go for that one. Typically if you have a lot of time on your hands and you don't really mind waiting for the bigger fish to come along. So I'll explain the rig build up on a next video later on, because I use Sputnik in that one, Springs in that one, and that one, and I'll explain all that in a later video. Until next time, guys.